Failure is not a full stop at the end of your story, but a comma, a pivotal pause that allows for essential reflection and strategic redirection. To truly internalize this idea is to liberate oneself from one of the most pervasive and paralyzing myths of modern achievement culture, the myth of the linear path. We are often presented with curated stories of success that resemble a smooth, upward trajectory, a clean line from ambition to realization. This narrative is not only inaccurate but profoundly damaging. It creates a cognitive framework where any deviation, any stumble, is interpreted as a catastrophic anomaly, a sign that one is on the wrong path or lacks the inherent quality for the journey. In reality, the path of any meaningful endeavor, be it building a business, mastering a craft, or nurturing a relationship, is a complex, non-linear system, more akin to a labyrinth or a mountain switchback than a straight highway. Failure in this accurate model is not a chasm that ends the road. It is the very turning of the path. It is the feedback mechanism inherent in the process of growth. Consider the process of biological evolution, the most fundamental creative process on our planet. It operates not through flawless execution, but through a constant, brutal process of mutation and selection. Most mutations are failures. They do not benefit the organism and are filtered out. But without this constant, prolific generation of attempts and the honest feedback of failure, evolution would stall. Innovation and adaptation are born from this very cycle. In our own lives, when a project falters, a venture loses funding, or a goal seems to recede into the distance, we are not witnessing the end of our story. We are experiencing a comma. This punctuation mark forces a necessary breath. It halts the forward momentum, not to terminate it, but to create a space for evaluation. What was the initial hypothesis? What did the market, the audience, or the circumstances actually respond to? What assumptions did I hold that have now been proven false? This pause is not passive. It is a strategic retreat, a moment of gathering intelligence. Without these commas, our actions would be mere frantic motion, devoid of learning. The full stop, the period, only comes when we choose to stop asking questions, when we relinquish our agency and accept a single outcome as the final word. The comma empowers us to write the next clause, a clause informed by the wisdom of the last, a sentence that can now take a more informed and powerful direction toward its ultimate meaning. When failure occurs, it is absolutely critical to make a conscious and deliberate separation between the event itself and your core identity. The human mind is a meaning-making machine, and its most primal function is to weave narratives from the disparate events of our lives. One of its most pernicious habits, however, is to conflate an external outcome with internal worth. This is the trap of identity-based judgment. The statement, "I failed," can, in a moment of pain, easily morph into the declaration, "I am a failure." This shift, while subtle linguistically, is catastrophic psychologically. The first is a statement of fact about a specific time-bound event. The second is a permanent global label that you attach to your entire being. When you become a failure, you effectively freeze your potential in the ice of that single moment. Every subsequent action is then filtered through this lens. Risks are avoided because they threaten to confirm this dreaded identity, and opportunities are dismissed as being for people who are successes, not for someone like you. The work, then, is the disciplined practice of cognitive separation. It is to stand in the wreckage of a project and declare, with unwavering conviction, this endeavor did not work. I am the person who led it, and I am now equipped with new, invaluable data. This reframes you from a static noun, a failure, to a dynamic verb, a person who is learning and adapting. This is not semantic gymnastics. It is the foundational principle of cognitive behavioral therapy and resilience training. It is about defusing the event from the self. Imagine a scientist in a lab. An experiment explodes. The scientist does not don a lab coat that says the explosion and wear it for the rest of their career. They analyze the debris. They determine if the hypothesis was wrong, the materials were flawed, or the procedure was incorrect. They adjust the variables and run a new experiment. You must become the scientist of your own life. The failure is the exploded experiment, not the scientist. Your core identity is not the sum of your outcomes. It is comprised of your values, your integrity, your curiosity, and your capacity to persevere. By holding this identity separate from transient events, you create an unshakable inner foundation. The storms of circumstance may rage around you, but your core self remains intact, capable of observing, learning, and choosing the next, more intelligent action from a place of stable self-worth. Within the bitter soil of every disappointment lies a hidden curriculum, a set of crucial, nuanced lessons that success, in its gleaming simplicity, could never hope to teach. Success is a delightful destination, but it is often a poor teacher. It can reinforce methods that may not be scalable, obscure underlying weaknesses, and foster a dangerous complacency. Failure, by contrast, is a ruthless but brilliant instructor. It performs a system-wide diagnostic on your plans, your skills, and your character. Where success whispers reassuring platitudes, failure shouts necessary truths. It forces an unvarnished audit that leaves no flawed assumption unchallenged. For instance, a successful product launch might validate your marketing strategy, but it's a product that fails to gain traction that forces you to confront fundamental questions you otherwise would have ignored. Did I truly understand my customer's deepest pain point? Was my solution genuinely elegant or merely adequate? Was my business model fundamentally sound? This hidden curriculum is the silver lining that must be actively mined. The process of mining it begins with a shift in the fundamental question you pose to yourself. The ego's default question is, why did this happen to me? This is a question rooted in victimhood, seeking to assign external blame and find comfort in perceived injustice. The learner's question, the question of the growth mindset, is, what is this here to teach me? This simple rephrasing transforms the experience from a passive punishment to an active learning opportunity. The lessons are multifarious. You learn practical skills, a more efficient process, a better technical method, a more effective communication style. You learn emotional intelligence, how to manage your stress, how to lead a team through uncertainty, how to maintain your own morale when results are not immediate. You learn strategic wisdom, a clearer understanding of the competitive landscape, a better sense of timing, a more realistic assessment of risks. Thomas Edison's famous refrain about discovering 10,000 ways that don't work when inventing the light bulb is not just a cute anecdote. It is a testament to this curricular process. Each failure was a lesson that narrowed the field of possibilities, inching him closer to the viable solution. The knowledge gained from these lessons is of a different, more durable quality than knowledge gained from theory or easy success. It is earned knowledge, seared into your neural pathways by the heat of experience. It becomes a part of your intuitive intelligence, a gut-level wisdom that will guide your decisions long into the future, making you not just smarter, but wiser. The profound courage to continue moving forward after a significant setback is the very substance from which enduring character is built and revealed. Character is not forged in the calm waters of comfort and routine, but in the tempestuous seas of adversity. Perseverance is often mischaracterized as a simple, brute force stubbornness, a blind refusal to quit. In truth, it is a far more complex and intelligent virtue. It is the marriage of unwavering commitment to a long-term vision with the tactical flexibility to adapt one's short-term methods. It is not the persistence of the hammer which sees every problem as a nail, but the persistence of the water, which flows, adapts, wears down rock, and finds a way through any crevice. This courage to continue is not an absence of fear or despair. It is the conscious decision to act in spite of them. It is a choice made repeatedly, in the quiet, lonely moments after a defeat, when the voice of doubt is loudest. This is where character is constructed, brick by brick, with each small decision to get out of bed, to review the plan, to make one more phone call, to try one new approach. This process builds a resilience that is not brittle but supple and strong. A person who has never failed significantly often possesses a fragile confidence, one that can be shattered by a single major setback. But a person who has fallen and risen multiple times develops a different kind of confidence altogether. A confidence not in their ability to always win, but in their ability to survive and learn from any outcome. They know that failure is not fatal. This knowledge is the bedrock of true courage. History's most revered figures, from Nelson Mandela to Abraham Lincoln to Marie Curie, are not revered because they led flawless lives. They are revered because their stories are epic narratives of falling and rising, of being imprisoned and emerging with a greater vision, of facing ridicule and continuing their work. Their legacies are testaments to tenacity. They demonstrate that the final measure of a life is not tabulated by the number of failures encountered, but by the power, grace, and intelligence of one's response to those failures. This enduring character, built through perseverant action, becomes your most valuable asset, allowing you to navigate an uncertain world with an unshakable inner compass. Ultimately, the entire arc of your personal and professional journey is defined not by the events that befall you, but by the meaning you consciously and deliberately choose to assign to those experiences. This concept is the very heart of personal agency and existential freedom. Between any external event and your internal response, there is a space. In that space lies your power to choose your attitude, your interpretation, and ultimately, the meaning you will derive from the event. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, articulated this powerfully in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, stating that while we cannot always choose our circumstances, we can always choose our attitude toward those circumstances. Two people can experience the exact same professional failure, a rejected manuscript, a bankrupt business. One person can assign it the meaning of proof of my inadequacy. This meaning will lead to a response of shame, withdrawal, and abandonment of the goal. The other person can assign it the meaning of a necessary step in my learning process and a test of my commitment. This meaning will lead to a response of analysis, adaptation, and renewed effort. The event is identical. The outcomes are worlds apart, dictated solely by the chosen meaning. This act of meaning-making is not a passive, subconscious reaction. For the resilient individual, it is a conscious, deliberate discipline. It requires you to intercept the automatic, often negative, narrative your mind initially creates, and to challenge it. Is this the only way to view this situation? What is a more empowering, yet still truthful interpretation? By taking control of the narrative, you take control of your future trajectory. This is an act of profound self-authoring. You are refusing to be a character whose fate is determined by external plot twists. You are stepping into the role of the author, the one who decides how each event will shape the protagonist's development. The energy that is typically consumed by the emotional fallout of a negative interpretation, the anger, the self-pity, the resentment, is then freed up and can be redirected into the creative, problem-solving parts of your brain. You are no longer a victim of your history, but an active architect of your future, using the raw materials of your experiences, both good and bad, to construct a life of purpose and resilience. Therefore, let failure be a stern but valuable teacher, not an undertaker presiding over the funeral of your dreams. This final synthesis is a call to action, a plea for a fundamental reorchestration of your relationship with adversity. The metaphor of the teacher versus the undertaker encapsulates the entire choice before you. The undertaker's role is to manage an ending, to tidy up, to lay something to rest. If you hire failure as your undertaker, that is precisely what it will do. It will bury your ambition, your creativity, and your potential, presiding over a solemn ceremony for what could have been. The teacher, however, even the stern and demanding one, operates with the belief in your potential to learn and grow. Their critiques, however harsh, are not intended to destroy you, but to build you up, to correct your form, to expand your understanding. When you invite failure to be your teacher, you submit to its rigorous curriculum. You sit in its classroom, you take notes on its harsh lessons, and you do the homework it assigns. This mindset transforms the emotional valence of failure from something to be feared and avoided into something to be engaged with and mined for value. The world's most transformative innovators and leaders understand this dichotomy intimately. They do not see a world divided into the simplistic binary of winners and losers. They see a world divided into learners and quitters. The quitters are those who, at the first or second or third significant setback, allow failure to perform its undertaker's duties. The learners are those who, no matter how many times they are knocked down, keep returning to the classroom of experience, their notebooks in hand, ready to be taught. Your greatest achievements are almost certainly waiting on the far side of the obstacles you currently face. These obstacles are not random acts of a cruel universe. They are the qualifying exams for a more significant level of success. They are designed to ensure that when you do arrive at your destination, you have the strength, the wisdom, and the character to hold it, to enjoy it, and to use it for a purpose greater than yourself. So stand up, dust off the debris of your last attempt. Look your teacher, failure, squarely in the eye, and with the unwavering belief that your story is still being written, take the next step, armed with the hard-won knowledge that has prepared you for this very moment.